At the fourth hearing of the damages lawsuit between Belift Lab, the agency of ILLIT, and Min Hee-jin on November 14th, 2025, a new allegation was raised that during her tenure as CEO of ADOR, Min Hee-jin instructed ADOR staff to prepare monitoring documents claiming that various idol groups had copied NewJeans. Now, Belift Lab also argued in court that Min Hee-jin orchestrated a media war well before HYBE's audit began, and that ILLIT became the biggest victim because Min Hee-jin sought to maximize her own personal gain. According to Belift Lab, the group had just debuted, had no established fandom, and was therefore an easy target. Now, for context, this lawsuit began after Min Hee-jin declared at the April 25th press conference last year that HYBE had subjected her to an unlawful audit while simultaneously claiming that Belift Lab had plagiarized NewJeans' overall concept when producing ILLIT. So, Belift Lab responded in June with a 2 billion Korean won damages lawsuit, calling Min Hee-jin's statements malicious defamation. In November, Min Hee-jin filed a counter lawsuit seeking 5 billion Korean won, and the two sides have already clashed in 3 previous hearings. So this fourth hearing, again, which happened on November 14th, this one drew particular attention because it came shortly after a different court ruled in favor of ADOR, the present-day ADOR without Min Hee-jin, in the exclusive contract lawsuit against NewJeans members. Right? In that case, the court did not accept the NewJeans side plagiarism-based argument and stated that a girl group's concept is difficult to treat as a clearly defined trademark, a publicity rights, or a piece of intellectual property under the contract. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 2 articles that came out on November 4th to help us have an insight into what was going on in court that day. And then we will end by looking at Belift Lab's official Weverse announcement issued on the same day, the zero tolerance announcement protecting ILLIT. All right, let's start here. An article titled, Belift Lab, Min Hee-jin planned a media offensive even before the audit. Newly debuted ILLIT was sacrificed. It starts with a quote from Belift Lab or their lawyers. The claim that ILLIT plagiarized NewJeans did not originate from the public. The defendant manufactured this noise intentionally to match ILLIT's debut schedule. When ILLIT's debut date was revealed on February 27, 2024, former ADOR Deputy CEO Lee Sang-woo immediately began planning a chart manipulation attack using a song that hadn't even been released yet in order to pressure HYBE. This targeting, directed by the defendant, was extremely successful. The core of the issue is that the defendant, an industry expert, took advantage of a few anonymous online reactions and weaponized a sensational claim, even though she knew perfectly well it didn't meet any legal definition of plagiarism, to wage a media war. That was her objective. Belift Lab, the agency of the rookie girl group ILLIT, which debuted last year, argued in their 2 billion Korean won damage lawsuit that ILLIT suffered serious harm because former ADOR CEO Min Hee-jin deliberately used the group as a sacrificial lamb to maximize her own personal interest, at a time when the group had just debuted and had no fandom to defend them. At 4 p.m. on November 14th, the Seoul Western District Court Civil Division 12th held the 4th hearing in Belift Lab's damages lawsuit against Min Hee-jin. Both sides gave 15-minute presentations refuting claims raised during the 3rd hearing in July, followed by 30 minutes of oral argument. According to Belift Lab, Min Hee-jin began a media war as early as February 2024, months before HYBE initiated its audit, with the goal of cornering HYBE, hollowing out ADOR into a shell, and acquiring HYBE's 80% stake in ADOR at a bargain price. This, they argued, was her motive for maximizing her own personal gain. Belift Lab stated, the plagiarism accusations against the plaintiff were the result of the defendant's prior work, where she identified elements that could create negative public sentiments toward HYBE. They said that as early as February 4th, 2024, 2 months before the audit began, Min Hee-jin was already using the press to place HYBE under criticism and planning how she and ADOR could escape from the situation. She was preparing a public opinion battle, they said. Belift Lab added that on March 15th, Min Hee-jin even claimed that if we expose HYBE's vulnerabilities and create trouble for them, we can raise the valuation multiple by 40 to 50 times. They emphasized once again that the goal of threatening HYBE was not public interest, it was personal profit. Regarding Min Hee-jin's claim that ILLIT plagiarized New Jeans, Belift Lab and Min Hee-jin resorted to the most feared tactic in the entertainment industry, that is, damaging an artist's reputation. They argued that ILLIT, the youngest group under HYBE's labels at the time, was chosen as the target, or sacrificial lamb, as they phrased. Belift Lab continued, the party who suffered the greatest damage from Min Hee-jin's media war, designed to maximize her financial interest, is the plaintiff and the rookie group, ILLIT, that the plaintiff produced. Here, plaintiff means Belift Lab. Because they had just debuted and had no fandom to defend them, Min Hee-jin likely viewed them as easy to attack. According to Belift Lab, on March 2nd, 2024, the day ILLIT's concept film was released, Min Hee-jin was calculating how much it would cost to terminate New Jeans' exclusive contract. On March 18th, when ILLIT's debut teaser was published, she allegedly received a report that a deputy CEO had shown check this out. On March 18th, when ILLIT's debut teaser was published, she allegedly received a report that a deputy CEO had shown an analyst a maliciously edited anti-ILLIT video and encouraged them to write a sell report on HYBE. So they were trying to make stock analysts to write a report on HYBE stock to push investors to sell the HYBE stocks because what? ILLIT plagiarized? And the deputy CEO Lee Sang-woo tried to do that by showing the analyst the maliciously edited anti-ILLIT video? Okay. And this is something that I didn't know about. I don't think, there was tons of information that came out of this whole saga since last year. And I've been following the case meticulously. But I don't think I've heard of this one. Have you? Let me know if you have. To write a sell report on HYBE. And, man, that deputy CEO Lee Sang-woo. Yeah. Now, the presentation materials included a date-by-date timeline of Min Hee-jin's alleged planning, with messages such as, so here, the presentation meaning the presentation that Belift Lab's lawyers delivered during the lawsuit case hearing on November 4th, okay? So the presentation materials included these messages, such as, looks like we'll have to use the media in the end, February 4th, 2024. Publishing articles criticizing HYBE would be good, March 19th. We should have the articles ready next week, March 28th. We prepare our public opinion battle. When the time comes, we launch ours, March 29th. Is there even a reporter who will publish this? March 31st. These entries were included as evidence showing that the media attack was pre-planned. Belift Lab also noted that on March 28, 2024, Min Hee-jin instructed staff to tie 2 major fourth-generation boy groups together with ILLIT and say they all copied New Jeans. Let me repeat this. On March 28th, Min Hee-jin instructed staff to tie two major fourth-generation boy groups together with ILLIT and say they all copied New Jeans. The next day, March 29th, she reviewed how to leak phrases like New Jeans knockoff, ADOR, to reporters and discussed the best way to plant that language in the press. According to Belift Lab, Min Hee-jin later changed her plan and decided that the first official complaint email should be sent on April 3rd, before HYBE's audit began. At the time, she instructed two deputy CEOs, don't mention the media in this one. We focus on preparing the public opinion war. Belift Lab argued that this shows Min Hee-jin's accusations were not spontaneous concerns, but the execution of a media war strategy planned long before the audit. They continued, as part of this accelerated media war plan, the defendant ordered New Jeans to appear on a popular YouTube channel with director Shin Woo-seok of Dolphin Kidnappers, with instructions to make viewers associate other idols with being New Jeans copycats. She even wrote, check this out, she even wrote, Director Shin will lead it the way I want. She instructed staff to name not only HYBE artists, but also idols from other entertainment companies. Now, we don't know exactly which popular YouTube channel that they're talking about, but there's one channel where both New Jeans, Shin Woo-seok, appeared, albeit not simultaneously, and it's this channel called 침착맨. And 침착맨 and Shin Woo-seok are good friends. But at the time, when New Jeans were guests on the channel, people are surprised because like it's kind of strange. It was out of nowhere that on that channel, even though it's super popular, K-pop girl group members never appeared as guests. And now it seems like, I mean, I kind of predicted it, but it was Min Hee-jin's strategy all along. I don't know, maybe this is not the channel that they were talking about, but I don't know if there was Shin Woo-seok YouTube channel. Yeah, I don't think there was a case where New Jeans and Shin Woo-seok appeared as guests at the same time, though. Alright, but that was pretty cool. Not cool, but striking. Can I read that one more time? As part of this accelerated media war plan, the defendant ordered New Jeans to appear on a popular YouTube channel with director Shin Woo-seok with instructions to make viewers associate other idols with being New Jeans copycats. She even wrote, Director Shin will lead it the way I want. She instructed staff to name not only HYBE artists, but also idols from other entertainment companies. And here, when it says she ordered, it means that she ordered her staff to have New Jeans and Shin Woo-seok appear on a popular YouTube channel. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she wanted them to appear at the same time, on the same day. But maybe it never happened. Who knows? Belift Lab further stated that on March 31st, 2024, Min Hee-jin told Deputy CEO Lee Sang-woo to meet with a reporter and leak a story that, oh, by the way, this guy, 침착맨, in fact, both 침착맨 and Shin Woo-seok submitted petitions on behalf of Min Hee-jin last year. And that quite became an issue. And according to the host, the owner of the YouTube channel, 침착맨, Shin Woo-seok asked him to submit petitions, or he asked them casually, according to him, like, we're doing something like this. Would you want to join? And then he signed it because he believed that, I don't know, he said something like, Min Hee-jin looked like someone with passion and could handle New Jeans well, or something like that. But again, this article does not name the popular YouTube channel. But my gut reaction is that they're talking about that channel. Let's see, where are we? Belift Lab said, Deputy CEO, Deputy CEO Lee repeatedly copied and pasted drafts into KakaoTalk and reported back to the defendant for revisions. Min Hee-jin ordered that the email be sent not under a lawyer's name, but under the names of the parents. Wait. Sorry. Belift Lab further stated, let me go back. Belift Lab further stated that on March 31st, 2024, Min Hee-jin told Deputy CEO Lee Sang-woo to meet with the reporter and leak a story that ILLIT copied New Jeans, but explicitly told him, do not use the term media war. She also instructed him to revise the sender of the complaint email intended for ADOR, changing it from ADOR's lawyers to the parents of New Jeans. Belift Lab said, Deputy CEO Lee repeatedly copied and pasted drafts into KakaoTalk and reported back to the defendants for revisions. Min Hee-jin ordered that the email be sent not under a lawyer's name, but under the names of the parents. She also planned from the beginning to send the email twice. They argued that Min Hee-jin intended to stir and divide the public by using emotionally charged words like discrimination and unfair treatment, fabricating or distorting events to provoke outrage. They emphasized that Min Hee-jin is not an average bystander, but a veteran with more than 25 years in the entertainment industry, someone who understands better than anyone the destructive impact of plagiarism allegations. According to Belift Lab, Min Hee-jin deliberately chose ILLIT, a group with almost no fandom and little ability to protect themselves, as the easiest and most vulnerable target. Belift Lab also explained why Min Hee-jin kept pushing a media war. HYBE's legal team had already informed the defendant that plagiarism claims interesting, okay. HYBE's legal team had already informed Min Hee-jin that plagiarism claims would not stand in court. They advised her that the only viable route was a public opinion battle. This one is kind of okay. I think she received like suggestions or recommendations from two legal camps. So from HYBE's legal team, she was informed that the plagiarism claims would not stand in court. But from her personal lawyers, maybe Sejong, who knows, she was advised that the only viable route was a public opinion battle. And it says, the article says, even a close colleague told her that such claims would never be legally recognized, and that pushing a baseless plagiarism allegation could lead to a defamation dispute, which is happening right now. She knew the risk and still did it, the article says, because her goal was to pressure HYBE into revising the shareholders' agreement so she could secure an exit. Even after receiving repeated legal reviews from the law firm Shin & Kim, Sejong, confirming that plagiarism accusations were not legally supportable, Min Hee-jin still decided to use plagiarism as a vehicle for her media war, Belift Lab said. Hurting others while forcing changes to a shareholders' agreement for her own exit is nowhere near the public interest she claims to defend. You know why I was just laughing? Because this gave me a hint as to why Sejong lawyers are doing these things on behalf of Min Hee-jin. at the expense of their own reputation, because this shows that Min Hee-jin, once she sets her mind to it, she just does it, regardless of the fact whether whether this could be effective or not. So this basically tells us that Min Hee-jin asked multiple lawyers or colleagues for opinions on whether this plagiarism accusations could hold. And she heard no from everyone, including HYBE's lawyers and her personal lawyers, Sejong lawyers, and her close associates. But she still decided to go ahead. And I think this is exactly what is happening to Sejong lawyers as well. They're probably telling Min Hee-jin that, look, like these arguments that you're telling us to make in court, this is not going to work. But then Min Hee-jin probably just goes, I don't care, just do it. And then Sejong does it. Well, Sejong is still making money off of these legal cases where they're fighting on behalf of Min Hee-jin in court. But the reputation, man, like all right, let's keep reading. Belift Lab said Min Hee-jin herself explicitly stated that she needed to maintain a justification she could announce publicly in order to gain the upper hand in negotiations over ADOR's sale. The evidence shows she intended to harm the reputations of both ILLIT and HYBE, they said. From the very beginning, before the audit, she stated that her goal was to make it public. She had no interest in internal whistleblowing. They continued, ILLIT is the biggest victim in this entire case. After Min Hee-jin's press conference, album pre-orders plummeted. Filming schedules were canceled. Advertising deals were halted, and online hate surged. Every piece of content ILLIT appeared in was flooded with hateful comments, from NewJeans fans swayed by Min Hee-jin's narrative, or simply from people who enjoy attacking someone. And I remember that era of hate. I mean, the hate comments are still existing, but it's much better now. And one of the things that helped was the fact that the fandom is now building, right? ILLIT. But at the time, just like Belift Lab argues, they were so vulnerable. The fandom name wasn't even announced. You know what I'm saying? And I still remember the video that Belift Lab put out, refuting all the plagiarism arguments, and the comment section was flooded with hate trains. Belift Lab concluded the defendant used harsh and defamatory labels like plagiarism, copying, imitation, and knockoff without making any genuine effort to determine whether plagiarism had occurred. The plaintiff suffered major damage from the defendant's dissemination of false claims. These illegal acts have nothing to do with public interest, and we ask the court to hold the defendant liable for damages as requested. So that was the article. Basically, it holds Belift Lab's, basically discussing only Belift Lab's arguments, which is why I'm gonna read this article as well to give us a more fuller picture of what was going on in court that day. But when it comes to this article, Belift Lab told the court that Min Hee-jin intentionally engineered a full-scale media attack against HYBE and ILLIT months before HYBE ever began its audit, right? And their argument focuses on a few themes. First of all, the plagiarism scandal was manufactured, not organic, right? They argued that online accusations that ILLIT copied NewJeans did not start naturally. And they claimed that Min Hee-jin deliberately created and amplified the controversy to coincide with ILLIT's debut, knowing it would cause maximum damage. And ILLIT was chosen as an easy sacrificial lamb, right? Because ILLIT had just debuted and had no fandom protection, Min Hee-jin supposedly picked them as the weakest target. And Belift Lab says Min Hee-jin weaponized the most damaging allegation in the industry, that is plagiarism, despite knowing it had no legal basis. And another theme is that Min Hee-jin orchestrated a pre-planned media war to maximize personal gain. And Belift Lab claims that Min Hee-jin's real goal was to damage HYBE, weaken ADOR from the inside, and buy ADOR back cheaply. And they presented internal KakaoTalk messages suggesting that Min Hee-jin planned articles, coordinated leaks, and used phrases like, "we need to prepare for the public opinion war." And Min Hee-jin manipulated New Jin's parents and ADOR staff, right? That's another theme. Min Hee-jin instructed deputies to craft false complaint emails under New Jin's parents' names, doctor videos and documents, and push negative narratives to analysts, even stock analysts, business analysts, and reporters, and intentionally stir fear that ILLIT could replace New Jeans. And then they also said that the damages to ILLIT were severe and directly caused by Min Hee-jin's actions. And they listed the fallout, right? Album orders plummeting, filming was canceled, advertising deals stopped, and the girls suffered mass harassment online. And they emphasized that ILLIT were the biggest victims. And of course, Min Hee-jin knew plagiarism claims wouldn't stand, but used them anyway. This is something I noted especially, how Belift Lab said that Min Hee-jin had already been told by legal professionals that plagiarism claims were not legally viable. Still, she pushed the narrative because a public opinion war was the only way to pressure HYBE. And the core argument is that the entire scheme was for Min Hee-jin's personal financial interest, not public interest. Belift Lab argued that Min Hee-jin's actions had nothing to do with whistleblowing or protecting artists' rights, and everything to do with her own exit strategy. Alright, so now everything we just covered came from this particular article, which focused heavily, again, on Min Hee-jin's pre-planned media war and how ILLIT became her chosen target even before debut. But the second article that I found from Sports Today adds another layer. So it goes deeper into the actual courtroom exchange that day, which was pretty interesting, including Min Hee-jin's attempts to suppress her KakaoTalk messages and her legal team's shifting explanations. So let's move on to what this outlet reported, because it shows even more clearly how Min Hee-jin's defense is crumbling in real time. All right, titled. So Belift Lab says, Min Hee-jin accused other idols of copying New Jeans versus Min Hee-jin's argument, KakaoTalk messages were distorted. Belift Lab and former ADOR CEO Min Hee-jin faced off again over allegations that ILLIT copied New Jeans, as well as claims that Min Hee-jin had prepared a media war in advance. On November 14th, the Civil Division 12 of the Seoul Western District Court held a fourth hearing in Belift Lab's 2 billion won damages lawsuit against Min Hee-jin, which alleges defamation and obstruction of business. Both sides presented rebuttal presentations, continuing from the previous session. Belift Lab delivered a 15-minute rebuttal PT first, followed by Min Hee-jin's rebuttal PT. After that, both sides presented another 30-minute round of arguments. However, check this out. Min Hee-jin's legal team argued that including KakaoTalk messages in the public presentation will violate privacy, and insisted that they should not be shown. As a result, both sides proceeded with the KakaoTalk messages blurred out in their presentations. But wasn't she the one who proudly showed all the private KakaoTalk conversations between herself and Pang Xiu at her press conference? Yeah, double standards. Min Hee-jin's legal team also submitted their written materials on the day of the hearing, the article says, leaving Belift Lab unable to prepare a rebuttal. Min Hee-jin's side explained, there was confusion. We thought only the first PT had to be submitted in advance, and that rebuttal PTs were exempt. The judge responded, submitting in advance is a basic rule. Filing on the same day goes against that. There seems to be a problem with the defendant's conduct. Both sides must submit written materials at least a week in advance. What? Did I read correctly? Is Haejong lawyer saying that there was confusion? That we thought only the first PT had to be submitted in advance and the rebuttal PTs were exempt? Did Min Hee-jin order them to pull off something like this? I don't know, man. Belift Lab presented first. They argued. The court has already recognized 3 times that the defendant committed acts of betrayal against HYBE. The court also viewed the plagiarism allegations against ILLIT as part of the defendant's premeditated efforts to create negative public opinion toward HYBE. Min Hee-jin attempted to corner HYBE, turn ADOR into an empty shell, and then acquire HYBE's 80% stake at a bargain price. To do that, she tried to scare HYBE by damaging Audit's reputation, and the target she chose was ILLIT, because they were rookies with no fandom to defend them. She assumed they would be the easiest to attack. Belift Lab submitted KakaoTalk messages as evidence showing Min Hee-jin and her close associates discussing ways to attack ILLIT, including framing them for charge manipulation and accusing them of copying, even before ILLIT debuted on March 25th last year. Belift Lab continued. Once ILLIT's debut schedule was revealed on February 27th, the former ADOR deputy CEO tried to weaponize an unreleased song to fabricate a chart manipulation scandal and pressure HYBE. Then, on March 18th, the day ILLIT's debut teaser was released, he showed an analyst a meticulously edited anti-ILLIT short video and urged them to write a sell report recommending selling HYBE stock. See, Min Hee-jin probably cares about HYBE stock price so much. She'll be probably looking at the HYBE stock chart more frequently than me. Alright, let's keep going. Belift Lab also claimed Min Hee-jin ordered staff to create NewJeans copy monitoring documents about multiple idol groups. She told employees to prepare data on the many teams copying NewJeans. She insisted that famous 4th generation groups were all copying her work. It's the classic everything is mine Min Hee-jin mentality. 만물 Min Hee-jin식 사고. That's the phrase the lawyers used in court. She ordered monitoring documents not just for HYBE groups, but for male and female idols across other agencies too. And while developing these plans, she chose ILLIT, rookies with a weak fandom, as a final scapegoat. They added, Min Hee-jin planted unfounded fear in NewJeans' parents, making them believe another girl group could replace NewJeans. That made it easier for Min Hee-jin to hide behind them and put the parents forward as the face of the accusations. Now, if this is true, one can say that NewJeans members' parents are the victims of gaslighting. But do I have sympathy for them? Not really, because they had more than a year to discover what was truly going on, but they still sided with Min Hee-jin. And they're adults. But anyways, Belift Lab said the monitoring documents presented as evidence of copying contained nothing more than anonymous online comments and maliciously edited shorts videos. If you cut out a few seconds of individual choreography moves and stitch them together maliciously, you can make anything look like copying. Yep, and that's true. And that's something that I said multiple times before. That's why I really do not like copycat allegations, plagiarism allegations that happen all the time in the K-pop industry. Of course, there are cases where is legitimately plagiarism. And there are cases where even the court decides that that's the case. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure Min Hee-jin knows about that. And check this out. They also revealed KakaoTalk logs showing Min Hee-jin instructing that new jeans be put on a popular YouTube channel with director Shin Woo-seok in a way that would make viewers associate other idols with being new jeans copycats. Okay, so it does sound like she wanted New Jeans and Shin Woo-seok to appear on a particular YouTube channel's episode together simultaneously. If that really happened, let me know. I don't remember anything. Yeah. They also revealed KakaoTalk logs showing Min Hee-jin instructing that New Jeans be put. I just read that. In her message, she even says, "Director Shin will lead it the way I want. 신 감독이 내 뜻대로 리드해 줄 것임." Yeah. So if this is true, I mean, the KakaoTalk message is right there, and she said that sentence, then yeah, Shin Woo-seok is probably an accomplice. And recently I have already also covered the legal battle between Shin Woo-seok and ADOR, right? Around the issue of him posting the director's cut version of music video, ETA, Eugene's ETA music video, on his channel. So go check it out if you're interested. Belift Lab further argued that Min Hee-jin tried to push a chart manipulation narrative too, preparing press release drafts in advance. They addressed Min Hee-jin's recent claim that ILLIT's sales spike was suspicious. She claims ILLIT selling 80,000 copies on the final day is suspicious. But New Jeans sold 300,000 on their final day. If 80,000 is evidence of manipulation, then New Jeans will be guilty too. That's why she couldn't bring that allegation forward publicly. It will be a complete self-own. Similarly, she once accused Le Sserafim of manipulation too. Her accusations will always end up pointing back at herself. Belift Lab cited case law, arguing that making plagiarism accusations without objective analysis meets the standard for intentional defamation. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So there's a case law arguing that making plagiarism accusations without objective analysis meets the standard for intentional defamation. Yeah, that makes sense. Min Hee-jin presented herself as a righteous whistleblower, positioning herself on the good side and encouraging the public to ignore the other party. She incited the public while playing the victim. After her plagiarism accusations, ILLIT's album orders collapsed, production was halted, filming schedules were canceled, advertising was withdrawn, and the members were flooded with hateful comments. Min Hee-jin's side countered that Belift Lab was framing her maliciously. 피고 측은 원고가 악의적인 프레임 씌우기를 한다고 주장했다. Belift Lab is accusing the defendant of acting out of selfish motives for a hostile takeover. But the similarity between New Jeans and ILLIT was already widely discussed in the industry. Raising that issue was Min Hee-jin's authority and duty as ADOR CEO. Min Hee-jin's side also argued that the KakaoTalk messages were taken out of context. They were private conversations, and the meaning has been distorted. They added, both domestically and internationally, the dominant public sentiment was that ILLIT copied New Jeans. Belift Lab copied New Jeans' planning documents when creating ILLIT concept. As the head of ADOR and the producer of New Jeans, Min Hee-jin was expressing a legitimate opinion. Even if her statements are considered factual assertions, they are true, and therefore not unlawful. Belift Lab has shown no real damages nor any casual link to Min Hee-jin's statements. So that was what Sejong lawyer said. The court asked Belift Lab a series of questions, the article says. And that's we are approaching the end of the article. So what did the court ask? When asked whether a drop in value or sales due to Min Hee-jin's media war could justify an internal audit, Belift Lab answered, when an artist becomes embroiled in plagiarism or copying controversies, the damage is enormous. ILLIT was gaining major traction, even entering the Billboard charts, but after Min Hee-jin's conference, their momentum collapsed and they suffered heavily. It's like threatening to release someone else's dating scandal. That's the level of impact. Interesting. From the parent company's perspective, learning that a subsidiary CEO is planning such actions is absolutely grounds for an audit. Although, there were more reasons for HYBE to conduct an audit. Because remember, Dunamu, the largest cryptocurrency exchange in Korea, and Naver, the largest search engine in Korea, their executives, so Min Hee-jin's camp, whether herself or her deputy or her associates, approached them, the Dunamu and Naver key personnel, to ask them for investment in ADOR and NewJeans to take them out of HYBE, right? But then, thankfully, thank God, both Dunamu and Naver, they were like, what is going on? Why is this woman doing this thing? And then they came to HYBE to tell them what exactly happened and how Min Hee-jin approached them. That's how HYBE got to know her plans, right? And that was one of the key reasons why HYBE conducted audits into ADOR and Min Hee-jin. But Belift Lab argued that from the parent company's perspective, learning that a subsidiary CEO is planning such actions is absolutely grounds for an audit. Okay. Now, another question that the court asked. When asked whether Min Hee-jin or people associated with her had threatened to expose ILLIT for copying NewJeans, Belift Lab responded, "It wasn't a threat. We discovered it during the audit. Before that, we had received intel that Min Hee-jin was preparing to take ADOR out of HYBE. Then an email arrived raising plagiarism claims. If Min Hee-jin had a problem, she should have confronted Belift Lab directly. Instead, she acted as if she were preparing to terminate NewJeans' contract and had the parents send an email making accusations. It was strange. If there's an issue, you raise it with Belift Lab, not send a contract termination style notice through parents quoting contract clauses. Combined with various tips received and searches showing keywords like chart manipulation, control of the company, HYBE's 7 sins, and media war, we realized this was part of something bigger." The next hearing is scheduled for January 9th of next year. So this article covers the same trial session, but focuses on different details, especially the courtroom dynamics. So first, Belift Lab and Min Hee-jin's teams delivered rebuttal presentations, but Min Hee-jin's side tried to prevent the court from displaying her KakaoTalk messages by claiming privacy violation. And because of this objection, the PTs were shown with the messages blurred out. And Min Hee-jin's team submitted their written materials on the day of the hearing, which prevented Belift Lab from preparing a rebuttal. And the court, rightfully so, reprimanded Min Hee-jin's lawyers for this, and reminded both sides to submit materials at least 1 week early. And this is something that I found odd. Were Sejong lawyers really unaware of the policy? I don't get it. Or after working with Min Hee-jin or doing things on behalf of Min Hee-jin for such a long time, are they becoming more and more Min Hee-jin without them realizing? I just do not know. And Belift Lab argued that the court has already recognized multiple times that Min Hee-jin betrayed HYBE and that her plagiarism accusations against ILLIT were part of her premeditated plan to stir negative public sentiment as leverage in negotiations, right? And they presented KakaoTalk logs showing Min Hee-jin and associates planning attacks on ILLIT, including chart manipulation framing, malicious editing of anti-ILLIT videos, and pushing analysts to write bearish reports, sell reports on HYBE stock. And Belift Lab and Min Hee-jin ordered staff to write Nugent's copy monitoring documents about multiple idol groups across HYBE and even other entertainment companies before narrowing down on ILLIT because they were rookies with a weak fandom and therefore easy to damage. And yeah, ILLIT and ILLIT have come a long way. They survived and now they are thriving, which is wonderful to see. And I feel like ILLIT's success and their growing popularity is the biggest revenge that Belift Lab is waging against ILLIT. Like in your face. They also revealed instructions from Min Hee-jin to position Nugent on a major YouTube channel in a way that would make viewers associate other idols with being copycats, showing how calculated and manipulated the strategy was. Although, I'm not sure how she was trying to pull that off though. By simply having Nugent and Shin Woo-seok to appear on a YouTube channel at the same time, how would that make viewers associate other idols with being copycats though? I don't know. Also, Belift Lab argued that Min Hee-jin continuously looked for new angles to smear ILLIT, including trying to push a chart manipulation, which is a narrative, chart manipulation narrative, but backing up because it would backfire on Nugent. And they emphasized that Min Hee-jin's accusations destroyed ILLIT's momentum. Like, album orders collapsed, ad campaigns and schedules were cancelled, and the members suffered heavy online harassment. That reminds me, the Pocari Sweats, I'm pretty sure some glitz are watching this video, ad. It's energy drinks in Korea, super popular and famous. And in the beginning, ILLIT, Won Hee was the model, right? But then later, there were rumors that Pocari no longer wanted her, and that got a lot of haters, especially Nugent's fans who wanted Nugent to be ambassadors for these drinks, to write hateful comments like, haha, that's because Won Hee is so whatever. That's why Pocari Sweat, the company, no longer wants her. But then guess what? This year, the entire group became the ambassadors. Yeah. So again, great to see ILLIT becoming more popular and more successful. What else? Belift Lab emphasized that. Actually, this article also points out what Min Hee-jin's side said. Right? Min Hee-jin's legal team countered, kind of weakly though, saying that KakaoTalk messages were distorted, that the allegations were industry conversations, and that public sentiment already believed ILLIT resembled Nugent's. And they insisted Min Hee-jin's statements were true and her duty as CEO, but failed to address the evidence of manipulation or the timeline showing she planned a media war months in advance. And this is basically what Min Hee-jin's side has been saying all along. Same thing again and again, like a broken record. Or maybe they deliver some very insightful counter arguments in court, but the journalists never discuss them in their reports for some reason. Maybe because they're biased against Min Hee-jin. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. But if there were some very insightful and critical counter arguments, I'm pretty sure some Korean media agency reported on it, especially those who still have favorable views toward Min Hee-jin, but I haven't seen any. Now, interestingly, according to this article, the court asked Belift Lab about whether Min Hee-jin's conduct justified an audit, and they answered yes, right? Because Deliberate reputation attacks create massive damage. Okay, so that was the article, and the next hearing, next trial date is set for January 9th. So this article exposes something even more alarming about Min Hee-jin and her behavior, right? It wasn't just that she plotted a media war. It's that she tried to keep her own words hidden when the evidence finally surfaced. And her legal team, the way they fought to suppress the KakaoTalk messages, that's very telling. And people who are confident, if you think about it, people who are confident in their innocence do not scramble to hide the one thing that could clarify context. And then they submitted documents on the day of the trial, seemingly hoping to prevent Belift Lab from mounting a rebuttal. And that isn't the behavior of someone with truth on their side. This smells like the behavior of someone trying to control the narrative by any means, even inside a courtroom. So good job, Sejong lawyers. Keep doing your thing. And what's even more damning is the timeline, right? Min Hee-jin's own messages, the ones that she's now trying to bury, show she was brainstorming attack strategies before ILLIT even debuted. And she had already written his scripts, lined up talking points, so to say, and planned the release of noise marketing narratives to create maximum impact. And that is calculated sabotage, right? And her defense, like I said, keeps repeating the same line, that the public already thought ILLIT resembled New Jeans. But the public didn't manufacture maliciously edited videos, at least not at the time. And the public didn't coordinate with analysts to push a sell report on HYBE stock. And the public didn't commission monitoring documents on multiple idol groups while searching for a suitable target. And the public didn't advise staff to hide behind New Jeans' parents when raising accusations. All of that came from Min Hee-jin. And when evidence proves it, she falls back on excuses, whether it's privacy violation or misunderstanding or misinterpretation or timing confusion. So yeah, this article makes it very clear that Min Hee-jin wasn't exposing wrongdoing. She was manufacturing it. And the people who paid the price were teenage idols who had nothing to do with her feud. So, very unfortunate is an understatement that we can say. Now, one last thing before we wrap. Meanwhile, Belift Lab made this announcement on the same day, November 14th, on Weverse community, protecting ILLIT. And let me translate this for you. Notice, update on legal response regarding infringement of artist rights. Our company is, hello, this is Belift Lab. Our company is actively responding to all illegal acts targeting our artist, ILLIT, including insults, the spread of false information, personal attacks, and defamation. In addition to routine legal complaints against those who post malicious comments or defamatory content, we also pursue additional non-scheduled legal actions when the severity of the situation requires it. We have recently identified a sharp increase in malicious posts targeting ILLIT and individual members. In particular, some of the members are minors, yet anonymous online communities continue to circulate malicious criticism and slander against them. To protect the art rights and well-being of our artists, we are strengthening our monitoring efforts and will respond even more strictly to malicious posts. Go, Belift Lab. Any post that insult, defame, or harm our artists, including spreading false information, are all criminal acts punishable under the law without exception. Now, check this out. They also said, even if the original poster deletes their content later in an attempt to destroy evidence, please note that our monitoring system collects all relevant materials in real time and preserves them for legal action. Ooh. They also said, we would like to reiterate that we are responding comprehensively across all platforms, Korean and international portal sites, online communities, and social media to any malicious acts targeting our artist. We make it clear that we will follow a zero tolerance policy with no settlements or leniency for any illegal acts that infringe upon the rights of our artist. We will pursue all possible measures to ensure that offenders are held criminally accountable according to the law. And when HYBE says this, we know they mean it, right? When HYBE labels say it. And of course, there are some major cases, like legal cases, where offenders get criminally punished, but there are also cases that do not get reported by the Korean media. But still, under the surface, things are taken care of, right? Offenders, like one day get calls from the police station, and they realize that HYBE finally took legal actions. And I have seen some, a lot of people talk about that on social media or online communities. That, I didn't know that, the comments that I wrote were that bad, and then they end up getting calls, and then they had to follow the consequences. Anyways, let me finish this announcement. It also says, the reports submitted by fans greatly help us in pursuing legal action to protect our artists. If you encounter any illegal activity or rights infringement related to our artist, please report it through the HYBE Artist Rights Protection website. And that is protect.hybecore.com. I have made a video about it. It's super easy to use. So if you have any materials to submit, go use that. This is me talking, HP. And the announcement ends by saying, we sincerely thank all ILLIT, the fandom name, who take the time to send us detailed reports. We will continue to do everything we can to protect our artists' rights, and will provide further updates on our legal responses as soon as possible. Thank you. So yeah, this was great to see. The tone is much stronger than previous announcements, like zero tolerance, no settlements, criminal charges. And that shift is meaningful. Why? Because they now have legal momentum. Because the courts repeatedly rejected Min Hee-jin's claims. And they are no longer holding back while Min Hee-jin tries to weaponize victimhood, or Min Hee-jin's camp, or Min Hee-jin's followers, right? Minions, as some people call. And they are signaling to fans and to the industry that they have both evidence and institutional backing. And they explicitly say evidence deletion won't save offenders, right? And that is important because malicious users often panic delete posts when lawsuits start. But Belift Lab is making it clear, you cannot erase what we already captured. And if you think about it, many of Min Hee-jin's loyalists have spent months attacking ILLIT members, especially recently when the Eugene's situation became intensified once again, with the members allegedly coming back. And the loyalists have spent, the past couple or few days attacking ILLIT members, including minors, across anonymous forums, often using hateful, degrading language. And Belift Lab is drawing a direct boundary, right? That is, the era of letting the public run wild with hate is now over. There we go. Let me know what you thought. What was the most memorable part of this court hearing between Belift Lab and Min Hee-jin? What was the most surprising part for you? And what do you think is going to happen next? And will there be more new evidence coming out on the next hearing, which is when? January 9th of next year? Let me know your thoughts, okay? By writing comments in the comment section. And as always, let's stay positive, respectful, and classy. Thank you guys. Peace, love. Bye-bye.